Larona. This clip is extremely dark, so it's hard to follow. Still, when the original poster, YouTuber Nathan Channel, makes his way through the dark, he encounters a fence. Through the fence, he sees the silhouette of a woman in the distance who seems to be wailing. He follows the noise for a bit, watching the wailing figure from a safe distance. He believes it to be La Larona. In Mexican folklore, it's the vengeful ghost who roams waterfront areas, mourning the children that she drowned. Of course, the figure is far off, but it still fits the bill. A wailing woman off in the distance, wandering aimlessly. At the end of the clip, he gets closer, and you can hear her haunting cries echo through the area. The man then retreats, pulling back from where he'd climbed at the fence.
The Curious Case of Sabina Nessa, Kidbrooke, England. Sabina Nessa is a 28-year-old teacher who had her whole life ahead of her. The light of that life was snuffed out on the 17th of September, 2021, when a man with whom she'd had no prior connection found her in a bad place at a bad time. It's hard to view this as a crime of opportunity, considering the murderer, Kosi Silamaj, booked a room at the Grand Hotel in Eastbourne a week before the event. The above video shows him checking into the hotel before taking to the street to a supermarket where he bought a rolling pin. This is what he probably intended to use for the murder. Then driving off back to his hotel. The scariest thing is how Kosi Silamaj looks like just any ordinary person. Prosecution says Kosi was lying in wait at Qatar Park and had snuck up on Nessa, hitting her 34 times with the emergency traffic triangle, which he's believed to have grabbed from his car, thinking it'd make a better weapon than the rolling pin he'd purchased earlier. He carried her off into the woods where he strangled her in a bid to make sure she's completely dead. Miss Sabina Nessa is believed to be the unfortunate victim of Kosi's pre-planned murder since the two had no prior contact or involvement. Tiger Prows, Houston neighborhood. I know many people advocate for the rights of animals, and of course most of us understand how the ecosystem works, but no one wants a tiger for a neighbor. No one at all. When someone on this Texas neighborhood sights a Bengal tiger inside a neighbor's yard, fear grips everyone. You can hear the panic in the woman's voice and see how deserted the streets are. No one wants to end up a tiger's lunch. See the sheriff's deputy with his gun pointed at the tiger. The man must be as scared as we are because the tiger wouldn't back away. It keeps advancing towards the officer, who still has his gun up but appears unwilling to use it. He takes slow, backward steps, trying to keep away from the tiger. A man soon comes onto the scene and tries to lure the big beast towards him. We don't see this man, but we see the tiger pause, torn between its menacing plan and returning to the man who happens to be the owner. This isn't a game. It's an actual live tiger being kept illegally by the man in his home. The tiger is 9 months old, and authorities have managed to take it away from this neighborhood and give it a better home.
Noise complaint turned heart to heart. What began as a potential noise complaint likely changed the course of a few people's lives. The woman recording was being kept up by some fighting in the parking lot and was understandably exhausted by the ordeal.
It is 2 in the morning! Shut the up, people are trying to sleep, dude!
She tells the people outside to go to bed, and the conversation moves into the building. The woman filming doesn't back down and speaks firmly to the woman below her.
It is 2 in the morning, go home! I am home! I am trying to sleep with my child!
The thing is, the energy shifts after a while. The truly terrifying part of this clip is how close to home she seems to have hit rather quickly.
What apartment you got to live in, huh? Why? So I can make a noise complaint. Do that? Okay.
The woman may have been mistreated by a friend or a partner, she speculates, but the kindness of this stranger drove her to tears.
Then go inside and go to sleep. Let your friend go away. Bye. Great, but it's making it everyone's problem.
The original poster's tone changes as the other woman becomes less combative. She wasn't able to find her later, she explains, but said she did go looking, just to check up and make sure she was okay because she clearly needed those tough words at the moment.
Baby, go to sleep. It is 2 in the morning. Nothing is worth it at this time in the night. So go to bed, baby. You are too pretty to worry about this at 2 in the morning. You're way too pretty for this.
Blind spot crash, Joliet, Illinois. Maybe the story's moral here is that not all safe communities are filled to the brim with safe drivers. This clip is fast, but catches a dangerous exchange as one car flies off a fence. The traffic isn't crazy, just a few people out on a sunny and clear day. However, from behind our perspective, another car comes racing through traffic to try and speed by. As if on cue, that's when another, more responsible driver goes to make their timed turn. The two likely hadn't seen each other until it was too late. Blind spots can really be a dangerous thing to navigate. The speeding car goes flying into a fence and subsequently a tree, wildly falling out of control as the other vehicle is able to stop just in time. While not everyone was quite as lucky as the car that stopped, it's absolutely insane to have caught this terrifying moment on dashcam with a prominent vantage point like they did. Small humanoid caught on CCTV. In this video, taken from a CCTV camera in a bar in Singapore, two customers sit at the bar ordering drinks. As they put in their drink order with the bartender, a chair behind them starts rocking back and forth by itself. The men take no notice. The chair rocks until it falls over, and the crash alerts the two men. As they turn their backs to pick up the chair, a small human-like creature sprints across the bar behind them and then disappears. It's unclear what the being is, and the men in the video don't notice it because they had their backs turned to pick up the chair. The creature was about as small as a newborn baby, but it moved faster and unlike any human baby, so it's unclear what the creature actually is. The video looks pretty fake as the being appears out of thin air, but the chair moving by itself in the beginning of the video is very mysterious. Trapped in an old hydraulic elevator. Any elevator can be creepy if you can't escape it. This 1984 hydraulic elevator is small, cramped, and worn down, but not too scary. They get in with no issues, hit their button, and the lift begins to move. The noises are humming around them, louder than in a traditional modern machine, and when they get out initially, there's no issue. They go back into the elevator, hitting a new button. It's a little slow but responds without too many problems. When they go to use it a third time, the elevator stops suddenly, leaving them trapped somewhere in the building. Modern elevators have fail-safes and emergency contacts. This one is relatively low-tech by current standards. The alarm sounds off for a while when they hit the button, and the door keeps opening and closing in front of them, only exposing the mechanisms, concrete, and wall inside the building. They're trapped. It takes well over an hour before they finally get the elevator properly running again. It's clear that the wall has changed, meaning it's technically moving, but not at a safe or predictable rate. Finally, after about an hour and 15 minutes pass, they can get safe and out of the elevator. That's far too long, and I think if it was me, I'd struggle to get back on an elevator after an experience like that. Gas explosion. On February 15, 2015, a police cruiser's dashboard camera managed to capture the truly shocking moment when a gas explosion destroyed a New Jersey home, which sadly resulted in the injuries of 15 people. The video in question starts off normal enough, as we watch dashcam footage from a parked vehicle on a snowy day in New Jersey. We can see some parked cars along the sidewalks and some houses up in the distance, when all of a sudden, a large explosion erupts from out of nowhere, causing a flurry of shrapnel and debris to scatter around the surrounding area, causing many people that were on the streets to flee for their lives. The shocking video shows just how in a matter of seconds, an ordinary day can turn into something straight out of a horror movie. No matter what, we're never truly safe in our day-to-day lives. Australian man's unhinged bender. They say confession is good for the soul, but in the case of an Australian man who committed a crime, his moment of penance turned into a full-blown meltdown that left a news crew reeling.
I just only hope that she's alright.
It all started when the man flagged down a news crew, eager to spill the beans on his criminal activities. The cameraman got his full confession on tape, but the man wasn't quite finished with his spree. As the cameraman looked on in shock, the man stole his van, brandishing a gun and making a wild getaway. The cameraman captured it all, but the man's joyride was short-lived. In a fit of rage or just plain insanity, the carjacker lost control of the vehicle and crashed it into a sign, ending his escape plan. He was soon caught and taken into custody, leaving the news crew without a car and a wild story to tell. But what drove this man to such extremes? Was it just a maniac bender or something else? No one knows for sure, but one thing's certain. If you're already committing one crime, it's probably best to skip the confession and the additional carjacking if possible.
Carjacker wastes no time. While the last carjacking was brazen in broad daylight, this one is a bit less overt, happening much quicker. It's a dark, clear night as someone pulls up to the convenience store. They're not out of their vehicle, but just a few moments before, the carjacker quickly descends on them, becoming violent and dangerous with their weapon. The owner surrenders their keys quickly, as it makes sense to do it in the situation with an armed assailant. And just as quickly as they come, the carjacker is off, speeding away with their newly stolen vehicle.
Intruder steals car from this home. Ever wondered what happens in your home when you're not around? Here's an example of one very scary possibility. An intruder in your home. This intruder simply walks into this home. You can see him making his way in through the garage. He walks around looking over the whole place, trying to get a good idea of the terrain. In this case, the cameras might be very useless as the thief conveniently closes his eyes. He listens to the police scanners just to be sure where the cops are and allows himself a good escape route. His mask and hoodie obscure his face perfectly, and nobody can see any part of his body because he has on dark gloves. Watch as he finally gets to it, picking up something from the house and placing it inside the red truck before pulling it out onto the street and making his escape in the car he'd stolen. He's so careful, we doubt whether the cops will be able to get to him. Tiny humanoids walk along driveway. This footage was captured on an outdoor security camera of a home located in Wisconsin. The security camera is aimed at the driveway of the home. In this video, two small beings, under a foot tall, walk back and forth along the driveway. The beings walk on what appeared to be two legs and look very human-like despite their small size. The video only shows the two on the driveway, so it's unclear what they're doing or why they're there. The deeply disturbed Jordan Mcweeny, London. Zara Alina was 35, a fresh law student graduate who now works at the Royal Courts of Justice who was just getting into her stride in life. Until the night of June 26, 2022, while she was returning from a night out at a bar on Ilford High Street. That same night as she left that bar, a criminal was just thrown out of another bar for harassing staff and was now roaming the streets. With 28 convictions for 69 offenses, Jordan Mcweeny was only released from prison on probation, only 9 days earlier. The system attempted to throw him back into jail 2 days before this incident because he hadn't shown up for 2 appointments with his probation officers. He's your quintessential criminal, deeply disturbed, and one who should never have been let out in the first place. Reports say that he'd approached several women that night, all of whom rebuffed his advances before he suddenly stumbled on Zara. He attacked Zara and dragged her into a driveway where he kicked and stamped on her before sexually assaulting her. Zara was found later that night with severe injuries and she died at the hospital. Mcweeny was jailed for 38 years.
Bunnyman Bridge. Bunnyman Bridge is the name for this Colchester overpass, a Southern Railway overpass spanning Colchester Road near Clifton, Virginia. Supposedly it's named for an escaped mental patient, Douglas Griffin, who disappeared after a crash. Some weeks passed and rabbit corpses began to appear in the woods. As urban explorers often do, this was the cause for explorers to journey to the since graffitied overpass.
All right, you guys we're going to the Bunny Bridge. You know what?
Like this clip from users on the channel Productive Jokers. What starts with a rowdy bunch of guys drinking together turns into a trip to the overpass where there are signs to not trespass.
The Bunnyman Bridge.
Along with strange drips that look a bit like blood.
Drips? Is that blood?
The men walk into the tunnel and look at the handprints and graffiti attempted to be painted over.
Oh, look at the hand.
They see something in the distance, a figure they outline with a red circle. They get a bit spooked after going into the woods. They see some letters in the distance that read, "She laughed," before hearing some laughter. And of course, that's the cue to leave.
See some laughter.
Do you think you could have made it longer? Let us know down in the comments below. Did they see the Bunnyman, or did they get into their own heads about it? Sinister Trick-or-treaters. This video proves that not all trick-or-treaters have innocent intentions. In the video, a man and woman approach a home on Halloween wearing masks and holding trick-or-treat bags in their hands. They knock on the door and say, "Trick or treat." When the homeowner comes to the door, the man tries to force his way into the home. The woman runs down off the porch and opens the gate to the front yard to let another man in. The other man runs up to the porch and starts trying to push in through the front door too. Luckily, the homeowner was able to push them back and lock the front door before they could enter. The two men were able to run away and get out of the neighborhood before police could get to the house.
Great white shark encounter. A Berks County woman was out for a fun day of fishing with her husband in New Jersey when all the fun was abruptly cut short when they got terrifying close to none other than a great white shark.
We were just like, wow, this is absolutely amazing.
Look out! Get back! Get back!
The video in question shows the couple filming from inside a boat on the water, where just directly in front of them, a great white shark can be seen swimming around.
And she just kind of came up out of the water and you see this mouth open. It actually probably took us till she grabbed the bag to realize what she was actually doing, and it was just unbelievable.
Uncomfortably close to the husband and wife who are completely unsure of what to do in such a scary moment.
At one point, actually, we couldn't find her, and I said, oh, she's over here on my side of the boat, and his friend had said, no, she's on my side of the boat too. She was that long.
The couple said that for a few moments, they weren't exactly sure what the shark was doing until it started to reach for a bag on the boat, which happened to contain some bait.
She actually came around and had her mouth around the propellers.
The couple were out hoping to get away and have a fun, relaxing day in the hot summer air, when instead, they got terrorized by a shark, and as a result, they now have a shocking story to tell for the rest of their lives. Teens rob home at gunpoint. Doorbell cams continue to help families capture some of the worst things any man can face, especially when this bad thing happens when you're simply trying to do well. This homeowner in Pearland answered his door to find a teenager there asking if he could use the telephone in the house. He readily agreed out of the benevolence of his heart, but instead of walking in peacefully, the teenager pulled out a handgun, allowing his accomplices, 3 men, to run into the house.
I heard about it, and I can't imagine how frightening it would be. And it's in a nice neighborhood. I don't know. You just wouldn't think.
They run out shortly, carrying some of the victims' belongings. The others follow, and all of them pile into their getaway car, a white Lexus SUV. This man may never really open his doors to a stranger ever again, but what's more scary is how young these boys are, how green and yet how deadly they are, robbing a family with semi-automatic weapons and handguns. Police are yet to catch the intruders, and personally, I hope they do catch them to show that there's yet a modicum of justice in this world.
Ghoulish Spectre in the background. Have you ever seen an old horror film? One where the appeal is how grainy and off-putting the footage is? This feels like they've captured the quality of an old, degraded VHS tape that suffered through 30 years of wear and tear inside someone's attic. That being said, it's still an off-putting shot, and it's unclear what it really is. The zoomed-in CCTV footage catches what looks like a haunting silhouette moving slowly across the back of the shot. That being said, it's incredibly unclear what exactly we're seeing, and even then, it could just be a cleverly edited hoax. Either way, if you looked at your CCTV and saw something absolutely unsettling, well, I'd probably have a hard time sleeping after that one. Ghost pacing through the car park. On the topic of ghosts, there's no shortage of footage on the internet. This, however, had a strange circumstance surrounding it. Quite a few security guards saw the footage at once, so this wasn't some one-off. A white figure, almost glowing, shows in the clip. Its movements are erratic and circling, almost like it's pacing a room that doesn't exist. It doesn't stop for several minutes as few guards go out to investigate what's going on. Even they seem a bit confused as they either don't see the figure or do, which is unclear with the given footage and the captioning. One theory is that a bug illuminated very close to the camera, which in clips like this is common. However, as the clip continues, it shows a counterpoint. The figure and the light emitted seem to carry some sort of reflection in the water, meaning there's possibly something there. What is it? I guess we'll never know.
Crab-like humanoid caught on camera. In this video, a crab-like being crawls across a driveway. The being doesn't look very much like a human, but it also doesn't look like any animal from this earth. It's large and has anywhere between 4 to 6 legs. In the video, a dog approaches the creature and barks at it, but the creature remains unfazed. It keeps crawling and scares the dog away. Lightning-fast high-rise elevator. If you're going on a high-rise elevator, you're probably already slightly unsettled. Some people get used to it, but sometimes that fear never disappears. These people were going down, and when the doors opened, they walked into the old machine. You can see there's 60 levels, which is more than most people have had to deal with daily. The device is slow and a little rickety, refusing to keep going, just simply stuck in place. For many, this would be a sign to get off. However, the speed at which this elevator moves is also a bit of a red flag. The numbers begin absolutely speeding down as the people talk.
Speed elevators. This is a very fast elevator.
Yeah, this thing flies. Although I don't think it's safe at the station.
Oh, you haven't done it yet. No, but these elevators actually break down a surprising amount.
Oh yeah.
Knowing how quickly you're moving would likely feel uncomfortable, but the second person on the elevator can get off without issue. He stays on and decides to go back up, showing the numbers as they climb back into the sky. He seems unsettled and uncomfortable. This might be one of the nicer looking elevators we've seen from today's list, but to go from 0 to level 60 in under a minute is disconcerting to say the least. I'd like to avoid this building altogether if possible, based on the elevators alone. The Knife Murderer, Nottingham, England. The senseless murder of Kiani Kisingao Mabiala, a YouTube music star, is as jarring as anything. He has no connection to his killer and was merely minding his business, speaking on the phone when Mazin Abdelmanin stabbed him in the chest with a knife. Mazin and his friend Paris had been shopping in Nottingham and were waiting at a bus stop. Without rhyme or reason, Mazin stabs him right in the chest. Moments later, he was arrested on a bus as he tried to get away. He's only 19 and has been sentenced to prison for life with a minimum jail term of 20 years. Great Dane Guard Dog. No one wants to deal with a guard dog, right? But what if I told you that a massive loyal dog helped put a burglar behind bars? One bright and sunny afternoon, a gentleman enters their home, unwavering and confident in his actions. He doesn't stop to ensure anyone's around. He simply walks up and acts like he owns the place. Dubai, a massive 122-pound Great Dane, greets him with a friendly bark and prowls around him, seemingly satiated by the man's social advances. Little did the intruder know that the loyal dog was just waiting for a cue from his owner to attack. The dog springs into action like a superhero as the owner catches the man and screams. He goes after the burglar, biting and even going for his face. The man's escape was hasty and messy as he tried his best to escape the attacking Great Dane. The intruder never expected the dog to turn on him, but with one cue from his owner, the loyal dog knew something was wrong. The footage of the attack helped track down the burglar, who was later convicted of second-degree burglary. It's all thanks to one massive freakout by man's best friend. Bears at a pool party. Pool parties are extremely common things held by people in the summer as a means of cooling off, while also being able to soak in all the hot sun the summer months have to offer. However, despite being common, there's no way you would ever expect to find some bears roaming around at a pool party. But interestingly, that's exactly what happened to this family in the August of 2015.
They look like teddy bears, don't they?
This video, uploaded to YouTube by News Network Inside Edition, shows the absolutely wild scene. An entire family of bears swimming inside of a family's pool in their backyard, as if they have absolutely no care in the world. In the footage, the mother of the household surprisingly doesn't sound all that concerned and manages to speak to her children about the incident in a calm and collected manner, while the children are completely baffled and are unsure of what to do or say.
They're brothers and sisters. They got a nice cool dip in the pool.
However, it doesn't take long at all for some family members to grow concerned with this incident rather quickly.
I wish the bears were in someone else's yard, not ours.
Well, I'm enjoying it.
At one point in the video, we can hear one of the little girls say that one bear is taking her floaties in an audibly upset voice.
They took my floaty.
Then the father of the household voices his concern that the bear's sharp feet are going to poke some seriously worrisome holes in the bottom of the pool, which would then obviously cause the entire pool to deflate and cause a massive mess.
They're gonna be poking holes with their feet in the floor.
We're gonna have to buy a new pool.
Not till next year, babes.
I don't know, sweetie. I think our pool is shot.
It would also leave the family without a pool. Another absolutely terrifying moment comes a bit later in the video and shows the mama bear playing with the pool pump, which is connected to the electrical unit of the house, meaning that if she was to cause damage to it, it would be unbelievably dangerous.
Hey, mama bear. Oh, that's not good. No, you're gonna electrocute. Oh no!
Eventually, the bears get bored of playing around in this family's backyard pool and decide to call it a day, heading back to their own home to resume their activities elsewhere.
They're going to someone else's backyard.
Giant humanoids caught lifting trees. In this video clip, the people taking the video are shouting in confusion on why a couple of the trees on a mountain in the distance are violently shaking and then falling over. After a couple of trees fall over, one is lifted up into the air by what looks like a giant human being. The being is only visible for a split second. After picking up the tree, it sprints out of sight. It appears that there were other giants at the scene that were not captured on camera due to the amount of trees being knocked down. Karen won't comply with officers. Meridian, Idaho. Sometimes it's genuinely bad actors, and sometimes, well, things go a little too far. Meridian, Idaho is not known for violent crime. In fact, quite the opposite. Small areas can be rocked by even the smallest crimes, especially when the citizens are tight-knit and expect better from their neighbors. Luckily, this wasn't that, but more of an upset of the peace. It's hard to tell whether the officer was acting in bad faith or if we're dealing with a crazy Karen who's just daring the officer to arrest her. Either way, it doesn't really matter. When approached by an officer, the woman becomes loud and combative.
I just told you exit the playground.
But we're not trespassing. Are you going to cite everyone for not social distancing?
Ma'am.
Are you going to
You have 5 seconds.
It's a public park, which she claims multiple times. However, the police are ready to close it down. They reported numerous calls to the community police and decided to shut things down. She stood her ground, fighting back on what she believes is an unjust treatment, and in turn was arrested. Whether or not this was fair, she kicked up a fuss and was arrested for the behavior.
He is arresting her for being on a public playground.
Karen's behavior is one thing, but did she consider the kids and other moms watching too? Hard to tell your kid to behave when you're supposed to be a role model. A swift escape saves lives. Have you ever been in the kind of situation that forces you to act fast to possibly even save your life? It's a skill that's not easy to come by and could make all the difference in the world. But when the stakes are high and the clock is ticking, can you trust yourself to make the right decision? As these people pulled up to their gated home in South Africa, known for gnarly carjackings, they noticed a car had pulled up behind them. Instinctively, they knew something wasn't right. They could have ignored it and hoped for the best, but instead they decided to zoom off. As they sped away, they saw their would-be attackers standing there, unsure how to continue. They had underestimated the quick thinking and bravery of their intended victims. This couple had just avoided falling prey to mugging, carjacking, or worse. It's a perfect example of the power of quick thinking. In those critical moments, every second counts. Your reaction time could be the difference between life and death. Robbers at a convenience store. 4 robbers wearing protective masks and hooded tops marched into this convenience store in Kingswood, Texas, and proceeded to rob the place swiftly. The convenience store appeared deserted as no one could be seen anywhere around the store. No cashier or customer was in the mall at the time, allowing the robbers ample time to work their mojo. You can see 2 of them struggling to break what appears to be a safe open, forcing it in with bars until it gives, then they walk around the store, grabbing what they can quickly and exiting the store as quickly as they'd entered. It might just be a good thing no one was in the store at the time of the robbery, or we wouldn't know what dangerous situations would have developed in a situation like this. The police haven't been able to identify the robbers and have called on the general public to help in identifying these miscreants who are also suspects in another robbery in the area. If they'd been as cavalier as the last robbers, the police might have more to go on. GameStop clear-out, Glendale, Arizona. Glendale, Arizona is an excellent area. The people who want to steal will. This thief in broad daylight walked into a GameStop. We assume he was just there for everyday purchases, but the truth is much more sinister. As he was left alone on the floor, the man looked over the counter, grabbed his gaming console, and left. No one stopped him, and no breaking and entering was necessary. This small community is well known for how safe it is, only to be rocked by behavior like this. There was a $1,000 reward for catching this thief, and hopefully the sales associate didn't lose their job. But maybe don't assume people have the best intentions next time. It doesn't matter how nice of a small community you live in. There will always be people looking to take advantage. Dangerous cargo driver, Joliet, Illinois. You might be a safe driver on the road, but you never know what's going on with other people. This person caught in Joliet, Illinois, an awful case of reckless driving, right in the middle of a safe and tight-knit community. The driver was likely texting or sleeping, but the vehicle began to drift in and out of the lines. The FedEx truck behind it compensates by making a wide lane switch to avoid the inevitable disaster that would come from a collision. It doesn't matter how safe you are on the road or if you think this is just some routine drive from work. If other people aren't just as careful, then what good is your ability? Hopefully you too can swerve and avoid accidents as well as the FedEx driver did. McDonald's nightmare situation. Working at a McDonald's is no easy feat. You deal with all sorts of things. However, sometimes your life could be on the line too. It happened at this Manchester McDonald's in 2014, and it was a scene straight out of an action movie. Armed attackers stormed into the restaurant, moving so swiftly that it felt like a blur. Before anyone knew it, the registers were emptied. Workers were herded into the back room, and the attackers were brandishing their weapons to keep everyone in line as they did their work. The manager was forced to hand over any remaining cash, and then the attackers were gone in a flash. It was a surreal experience, and it's no wonder some workers never returned to work. But this isn't just a cautionary tale. It's a reminder that fast food workers deal with more than just burgers and fries. In fact, your local McDonald's might be more dangerous than your local police station. Creepy robber. Imagine heading to bed for the night, turning off all the lights and getting under the covers, not suspecting a single thing in the whole world. But then in the middle of your night, your home gets targeted by a robber.
Somebody, a stranger, was in your house when you were sleeping. That's the worst feeling.
That's exactly what happened to a woman named Claudia Roach, who was asleep in her upstairs bedroom when her phone suddenly began ringing off the hook. It turned out the caller was her daughter, who was phoning her mother from down in the basement where she was sleeping.
She started screaming and feeling, that he's gonna attack her.
The daughter was panicking when speaking to her mother, fearful of her own life upon noticing that there was a robber in the home thanks to a home security camera app she was using.
He was for more than an hour in my house, walking around, going outside, coming back.
The man managed to steal a few items from the house, but thankfully the police showed up shortly thereafter.
And I called the police and I asked the police to come.
Even still, it's terrifying to think about what could have possibly happened to this mother and her children had this robber been just a little bit more violent. Creepy breathing elevator. If something is amiss with an elevator, don't get on it. That would be a bit of a given. This person began filming what looked like a good elevator, except for the way it began bobbing in place. The elevator seems to be hovering just higher than the platform as the doors are seemingly open and close on their own. It's clearly broken or at least experiencing some sort of issues, and the person filming clearly seems uncomfortable.
Yeah, I'm not going to that machine. Do not want.
At the end of the video, he makes a swift decision not to continue getting on the elevator, which is the safest thing he can do in this situation. Don't mess with things if they don't feel safe. It's all a big lesson in play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Except the stupid prize here could be death.